Hi, welcome to my evolutionary fitness channel, Train, Don't Strain, with me, Mountain Jace. This is the 8th video in my Concise Foundations of Fitness series, in which I hope to show you that cheat training, sitting staring at your phone for 90% of your gym time, and never taking your muscles into the debilitation zone is actually what failure looks like. Conversely, training my evolutionary way is the best path up to your peak fitness goals. In my last video, I began to share with you how you can verify real-time whether you are training productively, which is in fact the only way to secure significant future performance gains. The first of which is simple to state, but seems to elude almost everyone at the gym. It is that when you destroy something, you have less of it. In the context of gym training, this means you must have to reduce the weight you're intending to use for your second set and again for your third and final. See episode 4, why 3 is the charm. So, if you see anyone adding weights to their bar or machine as they cheat their way through their sets, know for sure that they are only able to do this because they have not watched this channel and as such are not even on the first step up the stairway to heavenly gains. Anyway, time is precious, so let's just jump straight in to what I want to cover today. And it's as vital to take in as the air we breathe. Question: why do all aerobic-based animals breathe heavily after engaging in physical exertion? The reason is muscles use oxygen in a chemical process to convert stored energy into kinetic energy. The more effort we undertake, the more oxygen we'll need to burn. The lungs duly respond to this deficit by inflating and deflating quickly, thus pulling in more fresh air. That's it. Nothing more complicated than that. Yet, apparently, people at gym are conditioned to pay no heed to this correlation and happily go about their entire workout with only a minimal increase in their breathing rate. Every day I see deluded guys squat or bench press huge weights, yet immediately upon re-racking the bar, they are breathing and chatting normally. This just can't be. Something is fishy in this scenario. And before some of you close down the shutters on truth, it's not because you're simply just too fit to breathe heavily. Because the fitter you are, the more your body can do, so the deeper into an oxygen deficit it'll allow you to go. No. The only rational explanation is that the reason why the majority of people don't breathe heavily after completing a set is nothing more obvious than they just haven't isolated and then correctly trained a muscle so that it enters the so-called debilitation zone. This is the vital threshold beyond which the body recognizes that great chunks of muscle fibers have been micro-torn through intense activity and as a result is compelled to build back better. Whereas below this cutoff, all exercise merely gets put into the general maintenance category, which means a muscle is only repaired back to its previous state of fitness and no more. As a quick aside, let me point out that there are in fact 2 types of increased breathing after a person has finished a set. The first begins immediately upon the termination of the move, is constant in intensity, that is to say low, and lasts for only a few seconds. This occurs because most people hold their breath to some degree whilst they are training, and as such, the stale air within needs to be exchanged. The second type of heightened breathing starts slowly at first and then builds in intensity until one's entire diaphragm or stomach are involved. So, unless you refute the laws of chemistry, biology, and even me, then you know how well you're really training by keeping track of whether you're merely replacing just the oxygen in your lungs or answering the urgent demands of your muscles to refill their reserves ASAP. It's as simple as that. To illustrate this point, let me walk through, so to say, what happens to me when I do my leg press workout. So, on the first set, I do approximately 10 reps as I seek to illuminate as many lights up the stairway to heavenly gains as I can. See my earlier video on exactly what this means in practice. Upon completion of this set, I'm unable to move, and certainly not stand, and thus am forced to sit still for perhaps 50 seconds as my lungs scream for fresh air by the bucket load. Slowly, some semblance of normalcy starts to return. Because the leg muscles are the biggest in the body, I allow myself up to 2 minutes break between each set. So, with my mouth wide open, involuntarily gulping in as much air as possible, I then move to reduce my weights in preparation of the second set. Now, let me paint a word picture of what I see the vast majority of people at gym doing on their leg days. I'll use in this example 2 guys in their mid-20s that I encounter regularly. Genetically, both of them could be very muscular, but they aren't, and certainly not compared to how much time they spend in inefficient straining. Because it's fashionable, though a complete waste of time for most gym goers, they always start with the Olympic bar squats, with their special little flat shoes, their soft white chalk, and their mighty looking belts. I give these details to show that they, at least in their minds, mean business. Though, actually, looking at their legs, it's clear that their hopes and deeds don't in reality match up. Anyway, they make all the mistakes I have warned about on this channel. They do far too many sets, none of which are productive, and put more and more weight on after each, proving that they are not hitting the muscle to its full potential. They then leave literally 6 to 8 minutes rest gaps between each set. You get the picture. They have all the gear, make all the right grunting noises, whack on great slabs of weight to each end of the bar, and then, when it actually comes to training, which is the only thing that the body cares about in its calculation as to whether it needs to build back stronger, each set is over in a few seconds and is so ineptly performed that the body is given no reason ever to bestow future increased performance. And to prove this conclusion further, after each straining set, I see no stomachs rapidly ballooning in and out as their body fights to replace lost oxygen, and no mouths agape as fresh air is ferociously devoured to this end. Indeed, no outward or inward sign that the biggest muscle group in the body has undergone any kind of intense stress, which, thanks to the mediocrity that cheating produces, it in truth hasn't. Furthermore, in between sets, they move around as normal, for example, bending down to pick up their little books to blindly tick off another workout success, at least in their prehistoric world. All proving that they still have as much muscle fiber and lung capacity available to them as when they started. To underscore their failure still more, after wasting perhaps 50 minutes free squatting, they'll then move on to the seated leg press machine, then do some deadlifts, and end with numerous sets of lunges holding a heavy dumbbell. Dumb is the word. If you haven't found a way to get the job done at the squat stage, repeating one's errors ad infinitum won't make much difference. Remember, 1 million times 0 remains 0. See ya on the next stage of the Mountain Jace climb to peak fitness.